Charles, who nominated me to undertake my Rotary Peace Fellowship at the University of Queensland. So grateful to the folks, pass my regards. Good to hear current President Sonia, and good to see my friend David and Brenda for all the good work that you do in our community, and the Rotary Club of Winnipeg, the first club outside of Chicago, the Pioneer Club. I'm honored to speak to you today. Last fall, David and Brenda supported myself and Noel Dipap, another Rotary Peace Fellow, to undertake a trip to Kenya to attend the Mediators Beyond Borders International Congress, and to connect with local peacemakers, and to make a trip to the HumanKind School. Noel is away in Mexico with family. So here's what we decided. We decided that we're going to make the bigger report of our trip when Noel is back, including all that we did, as well as the trip to the camp. But this particular presentation, I'm going to focus on the project. I'll share some snippets, but the juicy part of our trip, I think I'll keep it until Noel comes back, because it was our first trip to Kenya, and I would like for her to participate in that presentation. So hopefully you can give us another opportunity to come back and be able to share that exciting engagement that we had. So I will share my screen. Everybody can see my screen? Give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen. Okay, wonderful. So I'll just do, since I thought there will be a few guests in the meeting who don't know about the project, I started with a very basic introduction, and then I'll go into the project. The HumanKind project is located in the Dadaab Refugee camp. I'll speak to that quickly, but I wanted to start with a moment of remembering one of our most popular teacher in the school, Mr. Hassan Samwene. I went to the school a couple of times, and all the time he was the darling of the kids, surrounding him all the time, and he devised songs about Canada for the kids. And every time I went to the school, it was a moment for me to connect with Hassan, and Hassan died recently of cancer. So I wanted us to spend just a minute to remember Hassan and all the good work that he did. Thank you. I spent time with Hassan. He was a refugee. He came from Somalia when he was young, got married in the refugee camp, and left 7 children behind. And I got to visit with his family, and I got to visit his wife and kids the last time I went. And they're growing, and the void that he left is imaginable in the school, in the community. The way that he connected us to the community is something that we'll miss. But here is to remember Hassan. I'll take you. So here's where we are. Here's where Dadaab is in Kenya. It's far away. It takes about, the shortest flight trip to Kenya is 26 hours that I have undertaken in the times that I've traveled. Sometimes I've traveled 45 hours. So it's a long way from us. But long way from us, there are people who notice the work that we do, but even more important, there are people who are far away from here in Winnipeg, who are doing all this work selflessly to support the kids of HumanKind. Dadaab is located in the eastern part of Kenya, on the border with Somalia, about 50 kilometers from the border with Somalia. The Dadaab complex has 3 refugee camps. So here is Hagadera camp, here is Ifo camp, and here is the Gahli camp. All the 3 camps are what is called the Dadaab complex, the Dadaab Refugee complex. And our HumanKind Academy is located in the Gahli camp here, up here. The camp itself has gone through a lot of challenges. Life is not easy. It started in 1991 with the settlement of new refugees in the conflict with, in Somalia, and started to settle. And people, as the volatility of the conflict in Somalia continues, people settle, and it's a difficult life. I remember living there, working there, and it's always been like this. Water gets to the community twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. They get food ration, you know, twice every 2 weeks. They get a amount that can last them for about a week. You see malnutrition, diseases. There's lots of insecurity because of the proximity to Somalia, the health issues, lack of clean water. On top of that, there's untreated trauma for many young children who have gone through the conflict. However, in the camp, life goes on, and you know, people do small businesses, like this guy who has a store. This is a auctioneer who auctions livestock. So people bring one goat here and there, and then this person auctions on behalf of everybody. There's some market going on, and then there's always people who are looking forward to come to the West. This board here, the UN posts names of people who have been selected to be resettled to the West. The UN often prioritizes people who have experienced the most vulnerability, and those people, it's like winning a lottery. Their names are posted there, and people go check out. And there are people who have been checking this board for the last 35 years to see if they have been selected to be resettled abroad. The kids, there's not lots of education opportunities. The ones who are older idling around. These kids are amazing entrepreneurs, these younger kids. You can see the tin containers that they are carrying. They have shoe polish and shoe brush in it. And they sit outside small restaurants, and people who get into the restaurant, they take their shoes, give them flip-flops, polish their shoes, and they get a few coins for their family. This is, instead of going to school, this is what kids do in the camp. This is a typical classroom in the camp in terms of kids going to school. I'll show you the comparison with HumanKind classes. You know, a few groups have raised what is called private tutorial programs. So this is also one that person has created to support kids in the school. This is what inside the classroom looks like. And there are few high schools. There are 3 high schools. There are about 4 high schools in the 3 camps. For population, I think now it's over 300,000. Over 300,000, and you know, inadequate. Lots of the kids who graduate from the grade 8 exams don't make it to the high school. This is inside the classroom in the high school, in the primary school. And then life continues. There's lots of extracurricular activities that people have made it, and you know, it goes on. So we came together, 3 of us from our community here in Winnipeg, got together in 2008. We sat down together at the Tim Hortons on Maryland. We sat down together and said, you know, we're here. We've benefit from incredible generosity we've succeeded our life here in Canada. We need to do something in our community. Muxi had made a trip to visit his family that he had lost for a number of years in Ethiopia. And he had also traveled to the Dadaab Refugee camp. And we said, we need to do something. And so we traveled to the camp and asked the community, what can we do? They pointed two things. One, kids who have graduated from high school who don't have any training, so vocational training and all these kind of things. And then they said, kids don't have early childhood education in the camp. So we looked at the two of them and we said, with the most impactful place where we can help is providing early learning to kids in the camp. Early learning to the kids in the camp so that at least we can provide, we lay the foundation for these kids to be successful in the future. And I'll talk about that later. So we started to work on a project that provides support to the refugee camps, plus also the local community, because the local community, all of a sudden it's a semi-arid place and the refugees have the huge settlement has degraded the environment. So the local community also became very poor. So we started to establish the HumanKind Academy concept on the outskirts of, just on the edge of the Dagahali camp. The Dagahali camp, and there's a local community next to the camp. So we said, why don't we, there's been lots of conflict between the local community and the refugees. So why don't we create a way where they can partner together, use this to build connections and peace between the communities so that the kids can go to the same school and parents can work together and all this. So we decided to seek support from the local community as well as the refugees. And we started to connect with our friends here, to fundraise. And we had our first fundraising event in 2009, where the first time at the University of Winnipeg, it was a sold out event. And ever since we've had events to raise funds for the school, every time it's been a sold out event. And, Rotary Club of Winnipeg has been our champion for everybody else in terms of supporting this project. So in 2013, after setting money, we decided to lay the foundation for the school, break grounds, and build the school. The land where the school is located was donated by a local community member, and said, if you're going to create this for our community, then I'll provide the land. And the land was given to us for free by the local community. So after putting our resources together in 2014, we opened our school. On the first day when we had kids, we opened the school to the community. We had about 500 kids line up. We intended to accommodate 75 kids at the time. It was quite a challenge. It was a very surreal environment. Kids lining up. We had someone who owned a clothing store who came to the school to measure the kids, fit the kids with uniform pro bono. We paid for the uniform, but this person came to fit all the kids, and we put in the 75 kids into school on that day. And it was an amazing environment. We had people from the HumanKind, the UNHCR, local community members. It was quite the environment. I remember we had also Carol Sanders, who's a journalist with Free Press, going from here to actually cover the project itself and how impactful we were on our local community. So since then, it's been an amazing project. And I'll say a little bit about what happens in the school. We provide 2 meals a day to the kids. Some of these kids, by the way, I wanted to say, some of these kids, the uniform that we give is the only piece of cloth that they have. When I was growing up younger, we used to call it wash and wear. You have one piece of cloth, you wear it, you wash it, and you wear it, and you wash it, and you wear it. So it's the same thing with these kids. They have, the uniform is the same thing. So every year we buy you the uniform. We don't expect it. It doesn't last. By the end of the year, it's worn out. So we provide the uniform for free and the learning materials for free. We provide the desks and everything. We ask the community to support us to take care of the school. We provide 2 meals. We provide a nutritious porridge in the morning, as well as lunch, which is composed of lentils, beans, rice, and then we provide meat on Fridays. Some of these kids, it's the only meal that they have in their life and in a day, and it's made quite the change. In January this year, when I went, half of the kids were kids who were extremely poor. Those kids come from a minority group called Somali Bantus. Somali Bantus are folks who moved from, in the olden days, in the 18th century, 17th, 18th century, migrated from Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Tanzania all the way to Somalia. And they settled in Somalia and became riverine communities, farmers who took care of the breadbasket of the country. But then came back to the refugee camp, and they are not like the local Somalis. So they go through a lot of discrimination from the mainstream Somali community. So those kids, I was delighted to see that half of the kids in our school are those kids who actually need the project. We have staff. We have 4 teachers. You know, 2 refugee teachers, a female head teacher, and then 1 non-local teacher who comes from the other parts of Kenya, which is quite working well. We have 2 cooks who cook food for the kids, 2 guards, 1 during the day and 1 during the night, and 1 cleaner who takes care of the garden that the kids obtain their vegetables from. We have 4 classrooms. By the way, I didn't take a picture of this, but one of the classrooms has this plaque that we put because Rotary Club of Winnipeg helped us put together that classroom that the kids use, which is one of the newer ones that we have. Because in my work with the Rotary Club of Winnipeg and Srini's efforts to support, to be able to fundraise, we're able to put this class together. 4 classrooms. We have 1 storage space for storing food. We have a dining room. We started with 2 pit latrines. Now we have 4 latrines, and we are hoping to add 2 more to be able to at least reduce the ratio of latrine to the number of kids. We have a garden where kids harvest, you know, vegetables, and then the kids engage in extracurricular activities. You know, I brought my son from here, Winnipeg, all the way to the camp so that just the experience, you know, what the refugee camp looks like and how it feels for those kids who live there. It's an amazing environment for these kids in HumanKind Academy. It's an oasis. The kind of life, the kind of school that they go to, and the school in the local environment are not comparable at all. And I'll speak about later on. I'll speak about what this has contributed to the kids. So we went to the kids, and you know, I brought them soccer balls from Tim Hortons that we got donated here. They got to kick around and enjoyed. We gave them phones to take pictures of themselves, selfies, and you can see the enthusiasm among the kids, you know, taking selfies of themselves, and you know how they pride themselves of being in the HumanKind project. Through again, with the support of Rotary Club of Winnipeg, as well as the local community, we were able to raise money to add a play structure, because other than kicking a ball around, kids need to have a play structure where they can play. And it's the only play structure in the whole Dadaab world. So it's attracting community members, and you know, the Watchman has a hard time after school of kids from the community who are coming at least to use the play structure. We had a local person innovate this, collect metal, and he constructed this locally by himself on the school grounds. So kids are having a good time. I'll be done quickly. I'll add one more recent addition. Again, in the last fundraising event, we focused on raising money for solar panel because the school doesn't have light. Everything shuts down after the 5 o'clock. Nothing goes on. Now we're able to install the solar panels, and the school is lit in the night. It's a flourishing environment. So here's what the local community came up with. The local community said, you know, now you're supporting the kids. What we would like for you to do is to give an opportunity to adults, because there's very high, there's a very low literacy rate amongst the adults. So the community came back and said, can you allow us to run adult literacy programs in the evening because there's light in the school? And this is something that we're considering. And they said, you know, we can try to provide local teachers who can support. Can you provide us with the venue? And this is what the HumanKind board is, HumanKind Kenya board is currently discussing. The school is overseen by the board, and they are talking to the local community. We foresee this is a great opportunity because we've created good connection between local kids and refugee kids. Now it will be refugee adults and local adults working together instead of conflicting, working together to improve their literacy levels. The 10 years later, the school looked very beautiful at the beginning, yeah? But where kids go, the school, this is how it looks like now. This picture was taken in January this year. And we are now focusing on how can we maintain the school, because we have been supporting with operationalizing it. So this is something that we will talk about at our dinner coming up on May 30th this year. We brought a number of Tim Hortons balls from here, skipping ropes that the kids use. In the last 9 years that we ran the school, we have graduated 450 kids to go to the elementary school. Good news, this past year, 2023, oh, 10 years back. 2023 was the first cohort of students who graduated from HumanKind Academy in 2015, took the grade 8 national exam in Kenya this year. And majority of our kids were at the top of their primary schools. It speaks to how much impact the early learning and the impact that the early education can have on the future of these kids. And the teachers in the local schools came back to us and said, you know, we now see the importance of early learning in the number of kids who have topped their classes from the national exam in the country, in that district. In looking to the future, we have a few areas that we're going to be improving on, refreshing the school, repainting and repairs just to be able to maintain. Rotary Club of Winnipeg helped us to buy the water pump, the water tank a number of years ago. It's very hot and the thing is made of plastic, so it cracked and broke. So now we have to buy a new water tank, which we will focus on fundraising for in the coming year. Also, the water comes from the water pump of the refugee that's run by the UNHCR. The strength of the water to the tank is low, so we're also going to be fundraising to get a water pump that can actually pump water from the ground to the tank, so that, you know, there's always water running. Inflation, we've had, you know, this poor exchange rate, and we've been paying the teachers and the staff the same amount of money, but the rate of inflation is high. So we're looking at ways that we can support better remuneration so that they continue to do the good work without having to go through challenges. The kids always say, you know, we give them the learning materials. So the teachers say they carry it in their hand. And you know, when kids carry a book in the hand all the time, they get worn out so quickly. So the teachers are saying, can you help us get school bags so that the kids can have school bags that they can you know secure their books. And then the last thing is interface with the Islamic school. So the local community is predominantly Muslim, 99% Muslim. There's a lot of effort in providing early learning through the Islamic school. So kids learn the Quran, how to read and write in Arabic and all that very early on from the age of 5 years. Now, what happens is that every day these kids go to the Quranic school very early in the morning at 7 o'clock. And then they finish the Quranic school at 8:30, and then they come to the school. Many of them come late to the school, or are falling behind the other kids because they come late to the school. The teacher told me on Thursday and Friday there's no Quranic school. The school is full at 8 in the morning. Also, the ones who come from the Quranic school at 8:30, they miss the breakfast because the breakfast is earlier than that. So what the teachers have proposed is, by the way, a Dutch professor did a study in Somalia, and what he found is that after the conflict in Somalia, the secular education system completely collapsed in Somalia. But the local Islamic school was flourishing because the community was putting a lot of effort into it. So he introduced the idea of integrating the Islamic school to the secular school. In this way, then, in the morning, they can go to the Islamic school. In the afternoon, they go to the secular school. It actually improved literacy rate amongst kids attending the secular school by about 70%. So what the head teacher has proposed is, and she's not, I think she's non-local and not local from the local community, and not of the same faith as the kids. She said, you know, I would like to have the Quranic school to be located in the school so that the kids can go to the Quranic school in the morning, they can have their breakfast and go to their classes without having to go back home and, you know, miss the breakfast and all that. So something that we're looking at to interface so that at least we can establish some, and I'm sure the parents will support to have, as suggested by the teachers, to have Islamic school integrated in the morning between 7 and 8 o'clock, and then the kids can have their breakfast and go to class without missing the first hour of class in the morning. Is something that we're looking at going forward in the future. And then in terms of fundraising here, here's our revenue. And most of these are charitable donations, the one-off donations that people like Rotarians give it to us. Canada helps. We get monthly donors, all that. But 69% of our money that we raise goes to transfer to the project directly. Travel at 10% is higher because of the support of David and Brenda this year. We spent, the three of us who traveled spent about 8,800 to travel to Kenya and the project. So this normally, travel is normally about 3 to 5%. So majority of our costs actually go directly to the school. We have very little administration that goes to administration, and then with a little bit that goes to fundraising through the annual fundraising that we do. I'll end here. The kids are proud of the HumanKind project. They're proud of the people who support, and the parents are proud, and they really, from far away, recognize the contribution that all of us make to HumanKind Academy and the change that we have introduced to the local community. Thank you, and thank you for having me to be able to present to you.